This video, How to Resolve Conflicts in Marriage Without Hurting Each Other, offers valuable insights into effective conflict resolution in marriage. Before we delve into the chapters of this captivating story, let's take a positive affirmation. Write in the comments section that my marriage and family is blessed. Subscribe to the channel as we embark on a continuous journey of enjoying marriage rather than enduring marriage. Now that you have done that, let's enjoy this together. Chapter 1. The Silence. Alice sat by the window of her quaint little house, the same house she and Paul had built together with dreams of a happily ever after. Outside, the sky was a dazzling canvas of sunset hues, but inside the air was heavy with unspoken words. Alice sighed, twirling her wedding ring absent-mindedly, her mind replaying the last argument they had. Paul was in the garage, working on his vintage motorcycle. The clinking of tools and the occasional hum of an engine were the only sounds breaking the silence between them. They hadn't spoken properly in days. It wasn't the first time they had fought, but this time felt different. There was a coldness that had seeped in, making reconciliation seem like a distant dream. Chapter 2. The Beginning of Tensions. It all started with a minor disagreement over their vacation plans. Alice had her heart set on a beach getaway, while Paul wanted a mountain adventure. What began as a trivial debate escalated into a full-blown argument, each accusing the other of being selfish and inconsiderate. "You never listen to what I want," Alice had shouted, her eyes blazing with frustration. "And you think I do? It's always about your plans, your decisions," Paul had retorted, his voice rising in anger. They'd gone to bed that night with their backs to each other, a wall of silence growing between them. Days turned into weeks, and neither of them made an effort to bridge the gap. It wasn't just about the vacation anymore, it was about all the unresolved issues that had been festering beneath the surface. Chapter 3. An Unexpected Visitor. One stormy evening, a knock on the door interrupted Alice's thoughts. She opened it to find an old friend, Mark, drenched from the rain. Mark had been a mutual friend before life took them in different directions. "Mark, what a surprise!" Alice exclaimed, ushering him in. Paul emerged from the garage, equally surprised to see Mark. "Hey, Paul, long time no see," Mark greeted, his infectious smile momentarily lightening the atmosphere. As they caught up over hot coffee, Mark could sense the tension between Alice and Paul. He had always been good at reading people, and it didn't take long for him to figure out that something was amiss. Chapter 4. The Dinner Party. Mark suggested they all go out for dinner, hoping to lighten the mood and perhaps help his friends reconnect. Alice and Paul reluctantly agreed, not wanting to seem inhospitable. At the restaurant, the conversation flowed more easily, thanks to Mark's efforts. They reminisced about old times, shared stories, and even managed to laugh together. For a moment, it felt like the old days when they were inseparable. However, as the evening progressed, the underlying tension resurfaced. When Paul mentioned the upcoming vacation, the atmosphere turned icy again. "Still undecided about the destination?" Mark asked, sensing the brewing storm. Alice and Paul exchanged a glance, but said nothing. The silence was deafening. Chapter 5. The Confrontation. Back home, Mark decided it was time to intervene. He had seen too many good relationships crumble because of unresolved conflicts. He gathered Alice and Paul in the living room and took a deep breath. "Look, guys, I can see there's something serious going on here. I know it's not my place, but you're both my friends, and I hate seeing you like this. What's really happening?" Paul sighed, rubbing his temples. "It's not just about the vacation, Mark. We've been having issues for a while now. We don't know how to resolve them without hurting each other." Alice nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "We've lost our way, Mark. Every argument turns into a battle. We don't know how to communicate anymore." Mark listened patiently, then leaned forward. "I think I know someone who can help. There's a counselor I know, Dr. Harper. She specializes in conflict resolution for couples. Would you be willing to give it a try?" Alice and Paul exchanged a hesitant look. The idea of seeing a counselor was daunting, but deep down, they both knew they needed help. Chapter 6. The First Session. Dr. Harper's office was warm and inviting, a stark contrast to the cold clinical setting they had expected. She welcomed them with a kind smile and gestured for them to sit. "Tell me what brings you here," she said gently. Alice and Paul took turns explaining their issues, their voices filled with pain and frustration. Dr. Harper listened intently, occasionally nodding or asking a clarifying question. After they finished, she leaned back in her chair. "It's clear that you both care deeply for each other, but you've forgotten how to communicate without causing pain. I'd like to teach you some techniques to help with that. Are you willing to work on this together?" Alice and Paul nodded, their expressions a mix of hope and apprehension. Chapter 7. Learning to Listen. Dr. Harper introduced them to a technique called active listening. The idea was to truly listen to what the other person was saying without interrupting or planning their own response. It was harder than it sounded. During their first practice session, Alice and Paul stumbled, interrupting each other and letting their emotions get the better of them. But with Dr. Harper's guidance, they slowly began to improve. "Remember, the goal is not to win an argument, but to understand each other," Dr. Harper reminded them. "Take turns speaking and listening. Validate each other's feelings." It was a struggle, but as the weeks went by, they started to see progress. They learned to express their feelings without attacking each other and to listen without judgment. Chapter 8. The Turning Point. One evening, after a particularly productive session with Dr. Harper, Alice and Paul sat on the porch, watching the stars. The silence between them was no longer heavy with unspoken words, but comfortable and peaceful. "I'm sorry for everything, Paul," Alice said softly. "I never meant to hurt you." Paul took her hand, squeezing it gently. "I'm sorry too, Alice. I should have listened more. We both have things to work on, but I know we can do it." For the first time in a long while, they felt a sense of hope. They knew there would still be challenges, but they were committed to facing them together. Chapter 9. Rebuilding Trust. Rebuilding trust took time. They continued their sessions with Dr. Harper, each one bringing them closer. They learned to appreciate each other's perspectives and to find compromises that worked for both of them. One day, Paul surprised Alice with a weekend getaway to the mountains. It wasn't the beach vacation she had wanted, but it was a gesture that showed he was willing to meet her halfway. They spent the weekend hiking, talking, and rediscovering the connection that had brought them together in the first place. Chapter 10. A New Beginning. With each passing day, Alice and Paul grew stronger as a couple. They still had their disagreements, but they had learned how to handle them without hurting each other. They had discovered the power of empathy, patience, and understanding. Their love story was far from perfect, but it was real. They had faced their demons and come out stronger on the other side. They knew there would be more challenges ahead, but they were ready to face them together. As they stood hand in hand, watching the sunset from their porch, they knew that their journey was just beginning. They had learned that true love wasn't about avoiding conflicts, but about navigating them together with compassion and respect. And so, with hearts full of hope and determination, Alice and Paul embraced their new beginning, ready to face whatever the future held together. Chapter 11. A Shared Future. Years later, Alice and Paul stood in the same spot on their porch, now with a new addition to their family, a little girl named Grace. The challenges they had faced seemed distant now, but the lessons they had learned remained ever present in their relationship. They had built a strong foundation of trust, communication, and love, which they were now teaching Grace. One evening, as they watched the sunset together, Alice turned to Paul with a smile. "Remember when we thought we couldn't get past that rough patch?" Paul chuckled, wrapping an arm around her. "Feels like a lifetime ago, but look at us now." Their journey had been full of ups and downs, but they had emerged stronger and more connected than ever. They had learned that the key to resolving conflicts in marriage wasn't about avoiding disagreements, but about facing them with understanding and a willingness to grow together. As they shared a quiet moment of gratitude for their journey, they knew their story could inspire others facing similar challenges. And so, dear friend, what did you learn from Alice and Paul's journey? Their story shows us that even the most loving relationships face conflicts, but with patience, empathy, and a commitment to truly listening to each other, It is possible to overcome these challenges without causing harm. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you faced similar challenges in your relationships? How did you navigate through them? Please share your experiences and insights in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming and insightful stories. Your support helps us bring more content that can inspire and help others. Do you have a topic related to relationships, conflict resolution, or personal growth that you'd like us to cover? Let us know in the comments. Your suggestions are always welcome. Remember, the path to a strong and loving relationship is never easy, but it's always worth it. Stay connected, stay compassionate, and keep communicating. Thank you for joining Tales by Blee, Marriage Tales community. Together, let's continue to explore the beauty and strength of marital bonds. See you in the next video.